ready. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Welcome to I Think You Think, fuckers!
Yeah! Today is Tuesday, 17th. Yeah, I'm going to use that too. Tuesday the 17th of June, 2014. We know what year it is and month and day. We are successful in that, yes.
You did have to ask me right before we started.
It is I Think You Think.
I was successful in that.
He is smarter than me. We are your hosts. I'm Justin, that guy over there.
James.
It's true. And we don't have any credentials.
Nope.
None that we've checked for. I feel like the camera is too low. Should we stay with this? Should we change it? What do you think? Leave a comment in the bar. If you leave enough comments, it will change.
It will actually alter the pre-recorded video.
It will, yep. Anyway, we're a weekly topical podcast.
We are?
We are, yep. We talk about what we think. What you all think out there, just send us an email. Check out our website, ithinkyoutthink.com. Check out our Facebook. All the links in the underbar. Check them out. If you're listening to us, then go to YouTube and watch the video. But it's also in the info bar on the Libsyn page. So, ding ding, yay!
Woohoo!
I know we're trying to get this all hyped up because we got a big heavy topic, as you can already have seen by the little box, which normally ends up down here, I think.
True.
That was all over originally. And this is a very intimate kind of conversation, so we brought the camera a little closer. Actually, we're just messing around and trying some new things. I got a tripod. Yay. Awesome. But before we get started, we do have something a little lighthearted. As we all know, Cosmos, the TV show, is very near and dear to me. I loved it. I loved the new rendition with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I loved the Carl Sagan one. And on the 10th, was it the 10th? I don't remember.
1 week ago today?
1 week ago today. So it would have been
the day
the 10th.
we're recording, not the day you're watching.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we don't even know when it is you're watching.
It's true.
How is 2018?
What is the future like?
Tell us. Leave a comment. Anyway, so I got Cosmos, and I also purchased for you Cosmos as well.
That is very nice. He didn't even open it yet.
Nope.
Did you get yourself a copy too?
Yes, I did, of course.
So no matter where you get drunk, you'll have comfort. Because that's what he's going to do. He's just going to ask me to watch it when he gets drunk over here on the next I Drink, You Drink. Because Cosmos is his whoopee. But thank you very much.
Yeah, well, now you
it.
know. Now everybody knows why I got it for him.
I'm just going to loan it out.
It's
and then
not,
I won't have it here when you...
It's not actually because we're friends. It's because I care about what I can watch when I'm drunk. Which is actually probably true. That might have been the subconscious aspect to it.
It might have been.
And now we've lost all of our listeners. I'm sorry, listeners. And watchers. So, I know you're all sticking around for the big stuff we're going to talk about, which is obviously... I know this happened last month. It's been a while, to a certain extent. I mean, some time has passed, but the Elliot Rodgers thing. I'm sorry, yes. Rodger. It's not Rogers. Elliot Rodger shooting. And we're going to just kind of talk about it, see where it goes.
Yeah.
But before we do that, the city in which we live, Elgin. If you all hadn't figured it out, it's a little bit of sleuthing. But they did this cool thing. It actually became relatively big news for this area. Is that the Elgin Police Department has designated their lobby as a place where you can meet other Craigslist people to exchange items.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of a safety thing because you don't know who you're going to meet on Craigslist, and you don't know if they're really going to show up with that coffee table that you're buying for $10, or they're going to haul you away and see what your insides look like. That got dark.
It really did.
Sorry about that.
But yeah, no, I think it's an awesome service. It gives a neutral and safe place to do those exchanges.
Yep. Which I thought I wanted to mention because I think that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
So, yeah. But yeah, what has been going on? I feel like I haven't seen you a lot lately.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I went on vacation this past weekend, went out hiking. It was fun. I had a good time. Beyond that, it's been a lot of work, especially when you go on and when you come back from vacation, it always feels like you're almost doing the work you do when you were gone. Yeah. Trying to get ahead and then play catch up. So there was a lot of that. a big NBA fan, and the team I wanted to win out of the two that made it to the championship won, and that was awesome. Yeah. Final episode of Game of Thrones was awesome.
Have not seen it yet. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
well,
need to see it.
spoiler alert for y'all, but here we go.
No! My wife has told me that I'm not allowed to watch it around her because she hasn't seen any of this season. Because she binge watches it, so I'm actually surprised she hasn't started watching it, but it's probably because one of her friends who lives in Norway, they'll binge watch it together. Not in the same location, obviously, digitally in the same location.
On the internets.
Because I have Comcast now, it's really easy.
Oh, yeah.
Comcast is really nice about that, so awesome. And I have HBO and all that stuff, so cool.
So what about you? What's been sucking up your time lately?
Well, we are getting into the swing of things at work with lots of community events, so that's the big thing. We had Relay for Life last week, so that sucked up some time. Getting ready for another community event where we're going to go to a food bank for work and go and pack stuff, kind of like what we did, but a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's not an international thing. It's more of a local thing. And I got roped into doing a community event for the 4th of July parade here in Elgin, so going to be doing that. And then it's actually both of us, Stolen Arts. We are doing some cool stuff with Elgin and not Elgin, but some of the groups in Elgin, and so lots of cool stuff with that. And that's eating up a lot of my time, so yeah.
Yep. Well, I don't think we can put it off much longer.
Yeah, we might as well just dive into it. So, Elliot Rodger, you were going to do the intro because you had just kind of gone over the stuff more than I did recently.
Yeah, college student, or recently out of college. He's about college student age, at least. Ended up killing 6 people and injuring 13 more. I don't even know why. I mean, I know why he explained it. I don't know. So this happened, you said, a little less than a month ago now.
Yeah, it was last month. Very end of it, I believe.
Yeah. So, yeah, he did all this, basically, he claims, because he was a virgin and he didn't like the fact that other people had a higher, basically, quality of life. They enjoyed life more than he did. And it was all everybody else's faults and everything. It also spurred that hashtag Yes All Women,
which generated quite a bit of debate on mine and some other Facebook pages, some of our friends' Facebook pages, which I'm actually sort of working on a blog post about, but just it's hard to find the time.
Yeah,
speaking of which, if there's people out there who want to partner with us and do blog posts for us, please send us an email. I'd love to partner with you and give you an opportunity to say things. So, James too, he wants to partner.
It's true.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Which, quick side note, I think that's great what's happened with Yes All Women. It's highlighting things. I don't know if what happened with him has as much to do with misogyny and things like that as people are indicating. That kid was just fucking crazy. And when you watch that last video, which I do not necessarily recommend for everybody, because it's really, it's disturbing. I mean, the whole thing's disturbing, obviously. But he's just fucking crazy. He is crazy, and he was in therapy since he was 8 years old, and he was just broken. And the way, he hated men as much as he hated women. He hated that other people had a higher quality of life than him.
Yeah.
He thought he was destined to win the lottery so he could be wealthy, so he could have women.
Yeah.
He literally, from what I read, he actually believed that. He thought it was his destiny.
You read some of his manifesto, right?
A little bit. I didn't read the whole.
You didn't delve into it. It was what I read at night.
I almost feel like even talking about him on his podcast or watching his video or reading anything about him is almost exactly the opposite of what should be happening.
I knew you were going to say that.
We've been doing this. Feelings on
it. Yeah. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for long enough that there are times when I'm like, I've got an idea of how James is going to kind of approach this.
I'm sure. At least that shows consistency.
It's true.
But that Yes All Women is highlighting things that need to be highlighted, and it's a positive movement, and I would not take that away. And the fact that this spurred that is at least one droplet of good that came out of it. But he was just nuts. He was just nuts. Oh, I'm still a virgin. Well, maybe if you weren't like a creepy person, you know, like, because he's not an unattractive person.
No.
It's not like, you know, he's got some physical deformity or something weird. He's not the freaking Elephant Man. You know,
no offense to people who do have that disease.
Can you name it?
Elephantitis. I have no idea.
I don't know either.
I have no idea.
Right.
Now
Either
I feel
way.
like a jerk.
But, you know, I just like a lot of it's personality. People probably got they felt it.
They probably
knew
felt
it when they
how
were around
creepy
him.
he was.
Everyone's worked with people or had, you know, friends or friends of friends where you just get that like, I don't want to be alone with them. And he probably gave that out like a fucking 15-foot aura. You know what I mean? Because he's obviously just disconnected. I mean, and if you watch the video, you see it. He wants to not only punish the women that wouldn't have sex with him, he also wants to punish all the sexually active men because they're enjoying a better life than he has. And what kind of perspective is that? And I'm sure his parents are hurting, but it comes back down to it again, and I say it a lot. Parenting shows a lot of that stuff. Although they did have him in therapy from the age of 8.
Yeah.
So they must have spied it early, but
there's an aspect to I can't say that there was somebody I went to school with when I was growing up that reminded his behavior was a lot like Elliot's was in that video. A lot of his mannerisms, the way he spoke was very pretentious. It was very like rehearsed almost. I mean, his video, while it's creepy and really scary, it almost feels like if he hadn't shot anybody, he would almost just feel like he's an attention whore.
Yeah.
Looking for people.
He was. I mean,
Right.
that was an aspect of it as well,
Right.
definitely.
And there's an aspect of him that sort of feels like, and obviously I'm not a psychologist or anything, but it feels very sociopathic, which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he said that all of these women are going to get what they deserve, and all of these men who are more sexually active than him are going to get what they deserve, and he wants to treat them like animals. And things like that. And I knew when I was going in high school, I had a friend, a relatively close friend, who had behaviors that looked a lot like that. Now, I'm not saying that he's a sociopath. I don't believe that he is. I'm still friends with him now. We don't talk obviously as much and live in different parts of the world. But those behaviors were similar. The kind of pretentious, the kind of like. His laughs and him laughing at stuff seemed very forced. Somebody who's trained in acting, like, it looks overacted.
Right.
It almost looks like somebody is trying to play a role, which he obviously was. But you're right. I mean, he's not an unattractive person. And his reasoning, like, these women don't want to be around me. They don't want to sleep with me. They don't want to have sex with me, whatever. They just go after these, guys who treat them like crap or treat them badly. But at the same time, like, his behavior is disrespectful. Like, it's disrespectful to everyone around you, and people are picking up on that. That's why you probably felt that way, like the way you acted. Now, I don't know if that's how in his videos he acted in real life, but I would imagine.
And it's hard to know because you're right. It was, I don't know about it was probably at least mentally rehearsed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this was a long time in the planning. And I don't know. He deserves so little of our collective time. It's just, I don't know. I mean, is there a point? I mean, they sent him into therapy when he was 8. Like, at what point do you need more than that?
Well, yeah. I mean,
aren't these professionals supposed to be able to get an idea of, this person maybe is not ready to be functioning in society?
I mean, now we're in a situation where, had he not done anything, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
Well, of course.
How many professionals, how many psychologists actually have somebody like an Elliot Rodger comes through their doors and they do stave it off. They do, work with them, find the right medication, whatever, and prevent something like that. And we'll never know because obviously we don't know all of the possibilities that could ever come out. All we have is this example in which that wasn't the case. And so at what point do you say, well, this person obviously can't exist in this society and take away their freedom to...
And who makes that call?
Right, exactly. You know, and you would... I don't know, because like the parents obviously were relatively familiar. His friends must have been... I assume he must have had friends, but it's possible he didn't. I mean...
He was... in some of his writing, he talks about his roommates, the ones that he stabbed before he went on the shooting spree, and he had nothing positive to say about them. It was all negative.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like he looked down on the whole world. Like, everybody was less than him.
Yeah, well, that's...
And he wasn't getting what he deserved.
That's very sociopathic sort of behavior. I mean, it's almost solipsistic in his thinking that he is the only thing that really exists and everything else exists around him, but you would think that he would put himself in a better station than...
He was trying. He was trying to win the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I try to win the lottery, but I still go to work
occasionally.
every day. Yeah, I don't think it's my destiny. I hope it happens, but
yeah.
You know.
Speaking of Destiny, next week, the game Destiny.
Oh yeah,
we're talking about E3 next week, so stick around or hit the next video if it's already out.
It's true.
Yep. Oh, man. Oh, you know what? We didn't go over any of the things at the beginning. Alex and the Anders. We didn't talk about Strava Max. We were so nervous about going into this that we didn't hit any of the things we were supposed to talk about.
It's true. So let's not give any more time to Elliot Rodger, except to say that, you know, for the friends and families of those that were injured in that, you know, our condolences. You know, it's a horrible thing. I wish it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And let's move on to something that's maybe a little more positive. At Yes All Women.
Yes.
The hashtag.
So,
Yes All Women.
I'm going to kind of take the lead on this, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, but obviously Sequoia is not with the podcast right now. She's off doing amazing things all over the place, or that's what's her postcards say?
Yeah, they all have Illinois return addresses. Though.
Yeah. Anyway. That's neither here nor there. But Sequoia is an ardent feminist. My wife is also a very ardent feminist. And I've always thought of myself as a feminist to a certain extent. Not always. I mean, there was much long. It doesn't matter. Anyway, in recent memory, I've thought of myself as a feminist. But as the Yes All Women has come out, as I've been looking into things and researching things and really refocusing on how I look at the world and how I look at media and how I look at... And we've talked about these things before.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really opened my eyes to how much misogyny and how much just anti-women there is out there. And things that... I made a Facebook post today and a Twitter post saying that it's really started to break down and destroy a lot of sacred cows for me. Things that I used to think, oh well, you know, that's just humor. That's just them being funny. I mean, that's just those things. And I've really started kind of like questioning everything. And now when I watch commercials and I watch media and I'm like just seeing like the overarching like.
Do you want to borrow my soapbox?
Yeah, I know, right? Can I take that for a second?
You know?
It's everywhere. And it's almost depressing. Like, I turn to my wife and I'm like, how do people not see this? But yeah, ended up in some pretty big fights.
It's especially shocking to me that you're just kind of seeing that because we have covered this general aspect of our society many times on this podcast. Like, different things we've talked about has brought us back there, and we've talked about it many times. And, you know, like, to find things that are surprising would be one thing, but especially the media aspect, because I soapbox about that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen, and there's really not much we can do to change that immediately. It more comes back into the household and teaching, communicating with each other, friends, family, especially children, and letting them know the difference between what's on the TV and what's in the real world. Because that is really where the separation needs to begin for progress.
Right.
Because you're not going to change Hollywood.
Right.
Not like that.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sorry.
Well, let me give you as an example. And this is going to make me look like a bad person to a certain extent, but, you know, hopefully as an example, maybe it teaches somebody. So, two things just recently in the last couple of days that I've realized that kind of goes back to what I'm talking about, my sacred cow, is I like to believe that video games, a lot of times, are run by people who are generally progressive in their thinking. The design for a lot of video games, and some of them are, and some of them are not. And I saw an ad for a gaming magazine or something just recently. I was on Facebook because now Facebook ads are all over the place. And it said something about lots of different gamers enjoy this magazine or something. And they had pictures of these gamers with the magazine. And every single the pictures of the males who were with it were all scopes, like different ways they looked and everything like that. There wasn't anything specific about them other than that they were guys holding a magazine. But every single one of the pictures of the girls was an attractive girl, a young, attractive, I wouldn't, relatively thin, and there isn't any, and I'm not saying that girls who are gamers are not unattractive. I'm just saying that every single picture was, and that doesn't that doesn't take the whole gamut. It wasn't showing as
balanced of a scope as
right.
And
I was like, well, even that is sexist. I mean, it's painting a specific picture, and then it goes back to a game my wife and I ended up in a fight about at one point. Was Saints Row 4, I believe it was. And in the beginning, you can make your character. And one of the character types you can make is a woman. And there's a slider bar for attractiveness, okay? And when you adjust the slider bar, the only thing that changes on her is the size of her breasts.
But that's a game like Saints Row, Grand Theft Auto, that is the make and mold of those kind of games.
Right, and that was my argument for her. Is like that's like Saints Row. Like they make fun of everything. And her point was they shouldn't. Like that that's
not the point I was making. The point I was like that's more why I don't play those games.
Fair enough. And she was saying like they shouldn't. They shouldn't do that. And I was disagreeing with her. I was like, no, like the humor is open to everything. You can make fun of anything. That's the case of humor. That's what makes humor.
That is true. I completely agree with that statement, 100%.
Right. But at the same time, it's sexist. And for me to say that it's not sexist was wrong. Like that, and that's what I'm talking about, like these sacred cows. It's like I was completely incorrect in that. And the majority of the time when I'm arguing with my wife, I am the one who's incorrect.
You don't have to say that. She doesn't watch the podcast.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I am always correct when I argue with my wife.
I wouldn't go that far. She might watch the podcast.
I will just edit this part.
Okay.
As long as I don't forget.
The 3-minute podcast.
So, but, I mean, and that's just one example of the situations in which I'm thinking back to things that I thought I thought that I was like supporting. I was supporting women, or I was supporting feminism, and I really wasn't. Like I was a jerk, and it's been eye-opening for me to a certain extent. Which,
that's always good. If your eyes can be opened, that is better. You know what I mean?
Well, right, and I've said this before, is that I prefer to believe as many true things as possible and as few false things. Like that's my kind of goal in life.
Right.
And sometimes it's kind of difficult. Sometimes you make bad decisions and your beliefs are based on faulty reasons. And so I'm sorry.
I keep having this thing pop in my head that I read recently. Basically, you train people how to treat you when you interact with them. And unfortunately, as many women as there are out there that don't accept being treated in that way, and they are willing to stand up for themselves, there are still women out there that utilize that as a tool. Mm. It's true. I mean, I'm not pointing fingers at anyone specific, but everybody knows it's true. So, and isn't that their right to do that as well. I mean, it is.
Right.
It is, but it's a big cultural change.
Right.
We're talking about the relations between, like, the opposite sex that generate procreation. You know, you've talked about, like, billions of years of evolution and survival getting us to this point. So it's not easy, but it is about education. It needs to be something that people think about consciously. People recognize when it's happening.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That was kind of the argument that I was having on a Facebook page, which, let me get this, I want to just point this out, that if I argue on a Facebook page with somebody, I completely accept that I'm probably not going to change their mind. Right. And the only reason I would ever continue it is because I believe that other people are going to read it. And that they can draw their own conclusions based on my arguments and the other person's arguments. And my goal is to get that person to say whatever it is about their position, and for me to put out whatever it is about my position, and for us to go back and forth on it. It's not to change their mind. And I completely accept, because one of the people that I argued with was my brother, who I'm very close to and care about a lot, but we just have differing opinions on these things. And the aspect is that... I don't even know where I was going with that. Something that had... Oh, we were talking about the fact that it is biological to find a woman attractive. And so catcalling is not wrong. It's not... And
those are two completely separate issues.
Right. And that's where I was like, okay, like I understand that it's biological to feel attracted to something, you know, to depending on what you're attracted to. But... there's a difference between saying that this person is this object of attraction and that not being a person any longer, and putting it into the point where you can then disrespect it and treat it disrespectfully and treat it like an object instead of another human being. But, you know.
Yeah, that's, you know, it is natural to want to defend your property. But if somebody comes on your front lawn, you don't get to club them to death. You know, that'd be like the same argument. Like, I'm supposed to, like, I've survived this long because I've defended, like, me and my ancestors have defended what's mine.
Right.
Or what's ours. And he stepped on my lawn, so I'm going to club him to death.
Right. Right.
You know? But that is... I don't know what that is. It's sad men who... don't know how to achieve anything else.
Yeah.
You know, like, they don't have some other path to go on. But, relations are not well taught.
No. Yeah.
It's really not. Like, from any perspective, either way. Not to say that makes catcalling and things like that right. But it's not like it's something that we're comfortable talking about as a culture.
Right.
We are not comfortable having those conversations, at least not honest, open ones.
No. And we're still trying to find our way, and that's we're still trying to find our way as a culture on how to view people, other people, as other human beings, instead of, you know, trying to think how they look or how they're dressed or anything like that. I mean, it's even... if you go into a job interview dressed a specific way, it automatically says something about you and doesn't make you you are no longer being viewed as that person specifically. You're being viewed based on the way you look.
But the way people dress or cut their hair or get tattoos or piercings, no matter what anybody says, the majority of people when they do those things are making a statement. So the way we dress and the way we present ourselves is how we want to be perceived.
Yes, I'm saying that. Well, I suppose. I mean, if you are specifically trying to make this statement, and so your idea that you're trying to put out there for the universe or for other people to ingest is, I want to make this statement about my tattoo, and so I'm going to get this tattoo to make this statement. It's probably not as specific as that. It's probably much more.
It's self-expression, how far you need it to reach. If you're really trying to impact anyone who ever sees you, that's one thing. But, like, I like this shirt. These are comfortable pants. I wanted to get my tattoo. I like having the beard. I like my hair to be short and convenient to deal with.
You just told them about the beard.
I did. Well, hey, tune in next week. Maybe it'll be gone. But like I'm making all these decisions because this is the way I want to dress. It's comfortable. I like these things, so
Right.
I keep them. And everybody does that. So like how someone specifically looks, maybe someone struggles with their weight, whether it's too much or too little, or just, like they don't have the normal symmetrical face that is considered attractive. Whatever it is, that's beyond their control.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that, you need to be able to get by. But you're never, ever, ever going to make it so people don't have reactions to those things.
Never?
You can't.
Like, I don't know.
Sight is our most, like, the sense we're most dependent on.
It's true.
Like, can you brush aside any of those reactions? Yes, you can, because that's a conscious reaction. And you should be able to.
Right.
You should be able to go, oh, that person is obviously Hispanic, overweight, and short for their gender. And be like, and realize none of that matters.
Right. And that's the difference. That's what the
Right.
society needs to get to.
Right.
And what makes it even worse is even if, let's say, our society did it to borrow, we'll exist in a world where there are countless societies. There's lots of societies. The society around just specifically where we live could get there tomorrow, but then 2 towns over is a completely different society.
And plus, we get people moving to America from all around the world. So you're fighting, in a way, you're fighting every culture on the planet.
Right.
Simultaneously. And gaining the benefits of all of them as well. And it's not going to be a fight that's won tomorrow.
Yeah.
It needs to, it's about education. It's about, everything is about, holding yourself accountable. Whether it's for, an individual making sure that they're seeing these things and brushing them aside and being respectful of other people, or people not allowing themselves to live in a place where, or be a part of relationships with their victim, getting back to some people helping propagate on either side, male or female, propagate those things within a relationship, within their own lifestyle. It's all about self-accountability and awareness.
Right.
Across the board. Raise your children right. Actually have conversations with them. Tell them what the hell's going on and what the difference between this and that.
It's funny, like that was, my son and I just recently had a conversation about, those very similar things. It's just like the same kind of stuff we were just talking about. But, yeah. I know this was a heavy podcast. I think it's about time to wrap up.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
We're probably getting, I don't even know how long we've gone. Roughly the right amount of time. If it's not, leave us a comment. Thank you to Alex and the Anders for your wonderful music every week. Appreciate it. They do it live, too. You can't see them. They're behind the couch. And StravaMax.com. Please check out the
Stay down. Still recording.
Please check out the website for StravaMax.com. The young lady that made the I Think You Think logo makes the... I can't really say all of the graphics anymore because I actually have started making some of those graphics. So.
With the original.
But the original I Think You Think...
the 2 bubble.
With the 2 bubbles. Yep, that was hers. And so we appreciate it. Please check out their website. Join us next week. We are going to talk about E3. We are going to talk about it in just a couple of minutes, but you will see it next week.
It's true.
So we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us, and bye-bye.